Whether it's your first time here or you're a regular here at Mr. Super Oz, I just want to thank you for tuning in to the channel. It exists because I, Oz, from the channel Mr. Super Oz, I wrote a 68-page graphic novel called Everlasting Survivors. Volume 1 is called All Day Long. If you follow the link in the description of this video, you can get yourself hats, shirts, posters, all kinds of fun things. But most importantly, you can get the story itself. And the more people that pick up the story, the greater the chances are that there can be continued adventures with these heroes. If you could, give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment, enjoy. Adam, thank you for joining me here on my channel, Mr. Super Oz. And I've not done the artist spotlight like this before, from a distance. But the whole idea of it existing is to clearly spotlight people who have independent projects out there. It started with one of my own artists because, well, I mean, that's the whole reason the channel exists, is to get the idea that I'm writing comics out to the world. But I'm not selfish. It's not all that I do. I talk about other things, and I really like the idea of having, a relationship or a camaraderie with other creators. And so I appreciate you being on and being willing to talk about your project.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, man. I always love this. I love shedding light on behind the scenes of creating a comic.
Absolutely. So one of the questions I had for one of my artists, the first version of this that I did, was what was it that got him both into comics and inspired him to start, doing art? And I just feel like that's such a revealing topic when it comes to the creative process. And so, what was it? If there was a specific thing, obviously there can be more than one. What was it that got you into the medium?
Okay. So this is really perfect timing because I actually just got back from talking at a trade school and shedding some light on the kind of the origin story, so to speak, of my creative endeavors. So it literally started when I was 3 years old. My dad and mom, they took me over to my dad's uncle's house just for a visit, and he had this old school desk. It had the wood top, the metal frame, everything. And he goes, "Hey, let me show you something." He sat me down and he took a piece of paper and he drew a steam engine in perspective. 3 years old, I remember it so vividly. It was magic. I just watched this man sheet and draw something that I recognized as a child, and it literally was almost a spark at that moment. And ever since then, I've been inseparable from a pencil and paper. When I got in trouble as a kid, my mom never grounded me from my toys or TV. It was, you're not allowed to draw for a day, and that killed me. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, so in growing up, like I always had heard that art is just a hobby, the big joke of a starving artist and all that. But I know that other people are doing it, so I want to.
Hmm.
So I pursued at the trade school I just talked at. It's called Miami Valley Career Technology Center over in Clayton, Ohio. Um, I I graduated from there with their commercial art program my junior and senior year, and then I went on to college for graphic arts to what used to be the School of Advertising Art, um, and that's now been rebranded as the Modern. But I was always told like the only art form that you can do is marketing, graphic design, logos and branding, and now it's all social media based. So that's kind of where I was leaning. I was working at a manufacturer in the marketing department at this time. I'd been with this company for almost 9 years, and I knew the ins and outs of it. Started on the floor, worked my way all the way up, and I wanted to do the graphic design. And I kind of hit the ceiling with my director, and she just looked me in the eye. She says, I don't think you're capable." And that broke my heart because since 3 years old and until well in my 20s, art was all I knew. And well, you don't tell me that I can't do something or I'm not capable, especially when I know that I am. So I had started working as a just as a side gig on my comic book, just for fun. It was just something to, because I was basically a technical writer working on manuals and service instructions and kit instructions. It was just a lot of engineered jargon, a lot of legal nonsense that just wasn't fun. So I want something creative. So I started doing that for fun, and something really struck me that I really need to be using my art for something. So I decided, and I talked to my wife, like, I think I really need to find a new avenue. I feel like I've hit my ceiling at this place. I'm not getting fed, professionally anymore, and I just felt this shift that something's not going to work right. So I told her, I said, what if I started my own marketing, firm? What if I started my own studio where I just freelance graphic design? Because that's again all I've been told. So I did. I put in my notice, quit, started Midnight 27 Studios, and was doing that for a little bit. I was working with other marketing firms, helping them, unload some work, and but still working on my comics. And a lot of people started noticing my illustrations, and they started asking if I would draw something for them. Hey, can you do this piece for my son's room? Can you? And it kind of got me thinking, like, I could absolutely sell this stuff. I can do this. So I kind of shifted my what originally was supposed to be graphic design to comics because I really wanted to illustrate. I wanted to draw, and I didn't really grow up reading comics. I'm dyslexic, so I don't read a lot. Um, I struggled heavily with reading, so I just more gravitated towards the illustration side. And what I found when I started researching that there's a whole industry built around sequential art. And that really struck me. I'm like, I could absolutely tell stories. And I was working on a comic just for fun. And I made that my forefront. I said, this is going to be what I do. And I've now been doing it for almost 10 years full time. And I've had the opportunity to work on not only my stuff, but so many other people's projects that are so interesting. And it's just been a huge blessing. And it's all started because I took that one little leap of faith of, I know I'm capable, I'm going to do it, and I'm doing it.
Well, here's something that I do on every one of my videos. I promote where you can get my product. I mean, it will have already played because it's like a self-contained ad. But where can people pick up projects that you have worked on, whether it be yours or, like you said, the things that came in the process? Do you
So,
are they convenient?
mhm. Yeah, you can go to my website, midnight27studios.com, and I have all the books that I have in stock still. I've worked with uh, covers for Image Comics. I've done Sierra Nova. They're a small indie publisher. I've done a handful of their books. Point of Authority for Victor Dandridge. If you don't know Victor, he's the hardest working man in comics. I've done his books. Um, I've done a couple covers for Freestyle Comics. Yeah, so you can check out all their stuff. You can actually even find some of my exclusives on eBay.
That's awesome.
and they're not even me selling them. Someone else is retailing them or flipping them. So yeah, they're out there.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if you remember this, but the day that we first met in person, I thought you were famous. Do you remember what you said to me after I told
I
you
said
that?
I'm Googleable.
What's that?
I'm Googleable, right?
Well,
No,
so
honestly,
so you said that your family doesn't think that you're famous, which I thought
no.
was funny. You're like, everybody thinks I'm just normal.
I'm a
And
normal guy.
maybe it's good marketing or the fact that I follow a lot of people that enjoyed your work, but I had already known the name Adam Fields before we met at the Cincinnati Comic
Hmm.
Expo. And the reason I bring this up, both it was entertaining that I
It
thought
was
you were
funny. I loved it.
and that you thought that you're you, which is totally understandable. But more importantly, the reason that I bring this up is how important it is for people's name to get out there. So, like I said,
Mhm.
I had known the name Adam Fields before I ever met you, and that just says something for the importance of the internet because I
Mhm.
knew you before I knew you personally, and so yeah, no, I just thought it was cool, and more importantly than your name being out there, you actually kept your name value up upon meeting you because you were great and gracious as far as creators go, and so I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, you know, I I just I never got into this. Like I always tell people, I kind of fell into it. I never pursued comics, but the art form, it was so beautiful to me that there's something so fun and interesting about taking a story and just turning it visually and seeing what you can do and how you can tell a story with the panels allotted and pages allotted, and there's really no rules when it comes to creating a comic, which I like that.
Mhm.
um, you know so I'm just doing it as to feed my creative soul. I'm not actually doing this to build a name. There are a lot of people out there that they want to get famous. They want to be the next Jim Lee. They want to be the next Todd McFarlane. Their character's going to be the next Spawn. I don't know how many times I've heard that. I said, I don't want to be the next of that. I want my guy to be his own thing. I want me to just be me. I want to be approachable. I want, I told the kids today, I said, I've along the way, I've made a lot of trial and errors. And I said, I've made a lot of errors. So listen to what mess ups I've done and don't do those. And you'll
Right.
be a lot further in your career. So I do. I just genuinely enjoy coming out, creating artwork, and just meeting all the fans and hearing their stories.
Absolutely. So I don't know about you, but there's definitely a part of me that while I don't like the hiccups or the missteps, I feel like without them, it's just such a much more boring story.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so, um, like for instance, my first artist who worked on Everlasting Survivors, he outgrew me, which is totally cool, and I'm happy for him. But we both often text one another when we hit speed bumps throughout the process, whatever it may be. Like for instance, if a letterer says they're gonna do good work and then they take your money and peace out. So uh, my point is that's not a good thing, but it's much like how I had a printer who messed up the title of my book on the spine,
Mm,
and so it's like again not a good thing, but it's so amusing to look back on it and say, well,
hmm.
this happened, and it's just a part of the process, if you will. And so yeah, no, I understand and agree that it's good for people to learn from
Hmm.
others' experiences. So
But
yeah, no, I thought that was great.
there is something to be said about those. I call them growing pains along the way. You can look back and we chuckle. I think if anyone has ever put out their own book, they've ran into an issue with either the printing or a partner that's on the team. I remember once I released a book, and on the very last page, and I don't know why, and the printer doesn't know why, the speech bubble populated, but the text in the bubble didn't. It's on my file. Every other page was perfect, but the last page where the villain was revealed and he was delivering his line of dialogue to want you to get the next one, it wasn't there. It was just his speech bubble. Now, some people may have scrapped the books and said, "Hey, we need a reprint." I like to make lemonade, and I hate wasting money. So, of course, the printer absolutely reprinted them. He was so apologetic. I said, "Hey, it happens. You didn't do it. The machine just for some reason didn't like it." So, yeah, so we fixed it on that. But I took those 100 books and I divided them into 25 stacks or 25 or four piles of 25, and I hand wrote a phrase into all of them. And then I ended up making like a little corner treatment for the um, the book, and I rebagged them, and they were a handwritten variant.
Wow. See,
So that's
that's
again, there's no rules.
yeah. Yeah, I was I was not so I don't know if intelligence is the right word, but I wasn't so happy when I had
Mhm.
the spine issue, and I ended up scrapping lots of prints because it was like I don't to me you can see behind me I got a lot of spines that are on the shelf or above it, and I just think that's so pivotal to especially when you're no relatively nobody. I just think that the spine is so important, and so I didn't want it to be in a store and be inaccurate. So I shredded over 150 books. I did end up keeping maybe 20, something like that. Very a few. I kept a few, and I didn't sell them because I didn't feel like they were. I wouldn't do that to somebody, but I gave them to my friends, and I was like, "Hey,
Mhm.
if this ever becomes something, you can say I got one of the the errored copies, if you will." So yeah, no, I wish that it was. Uh, I wish I was able to make lemonade, like you said,
Right.
but
You
that
know,
I
it's
actually think it's a very interesting development that happening to you or to the
mhm.
project.
Yeah, it was so weird, and having now worked in a print shop too, there's no explanation for why it happened. It just did, and of course, I was very angry and upset when it happened. And having a level-headed wife at the time, she pulled me, said, "Go cool down. We'll think about this." And then we brainstormed together, and together we came up with this idea. So it's all about like overcoming those obstacles because they're going to happen. There's going to be some sort of hiccup that pops up, and you could either get angry and feel defeated or see it as a new challenge that you weren't really expecting. And
Right.
I'm always about taking on a new obstacle that comes my way because at the end of it, you either have something to be proud of that you're like, all right, we did it, or realize, well, that didn't work. We're out some books, we're out some time, but now we know. You gain knowledge.
Yes. I feel like that is very much a key to life because there have been times when I'm at the 9 to 5, if you will, and I'm wondering what it's all about, and then when bad things are happening, and I just like, well, I guess this is teaching me something that I've got to keep to move on to the future, because yeah, if you're not learning something, then you're not growing. So you do have the website where you can pick up your
Mhm.
projects. Do you have anything coming down the in the future, I guess, if you will?
I sure do. So, as I mentioned, I was working on my comic book series Prowl. I had actually released 7 issues before, and I, after working with a whole bunch of people on different books and seeing how, in my eyes, professional do it, because in the way that I visualize me, I know I'm a professional artist, but I'm definitely not a professional comic book creator.
Hmm.
Um, at that time, I was just putting it out, and I look back and I had did it kind of wrong. I wrote one book, illustrated it, published it, and then I wrote the second one. So I kind of wrote myself into a hole, and I killed my own project of Prowl for a while. Got a whole bunch of other projects on deck. And I say all that to say, again, there's no rules in comics. I decided I'm going to remaster my own series. I'm going to go back to what I started. I'm going to polish it up, and I'm going to re-release it, which I did. And you can pick those up on my website. But the big thing I have coming down the pike is I also have decided I'm going to go away from the single issue format. I'm going to go away with the floppies and all that. I have issue one available, and basically it's just for collectors, and I'm using it now as advertisement for what's coming, which is a graphic novel. So once a year, everyone's going to have the opportunity to get the next installment of Prowl in a graphic novel format. So there's going to only be one hard floppy copy of Prowl, issue one. Everything else is going to come in a trade paperback graphic novel format. Now, there might be a few single shots, one shots of, a side character or a branch story or something, but ultimately they're going to have one book. So that's one I'm currently working on for myself. I do, however, have another 70-page graphic novel called The Wretched that's going to be coming to Kickstarter soon, by a very new publisher. His name is Brian Mantle. Fractured Heart Productions is his new official imprint that he's came up with. This is his first project ever, so I get to kind of coach him along the way as I'm penciling and inking the story. So that'll be coming next year. We finally nailed down an actual due date. So we have a target to hit, and I'm over halfway done with the book. So that's a really fun project. And then, of course, I work with the Upper Deck Company on trading cards. The newest Marvel sets have already been announced, so you can go to Upper Deck Entertainment, follow
Hold on,
them.
hold on. You were so casual about that. Oh, I
Yeah.
just work with Upper Deck like it's nothing.
Oh,
Like that's crazy. I got tons of cards. Just I'm looking at them right now. That blows me
oh, really?
away.
Yeah,
So that's
I've
so
worked with
yeah.
I've worked with Upper Deck for about
Trade
7 years.
I would love to have for all of my projects. I just have no clue how to even begin to make that a thing. And you're just all, oh, and I do this thing that everybody knows because you can just go to any store right there. Like,
They
come
are
on,
right there.
so
Okay,
casual.
so I've worked with Upper Deck now on various Marvel projects. They just announced their Cryptid Monster. I think it's called Monster Masterpiece set. It's like their own thing. Um, they uh, they just kind of teased that. I have a set in that. They're all sketch cards, so they're original art. You buy a pack and roll the dice to see if you get one of mine. Again, there's people that flip them on eBay. You can go and see some of my current ones on there. Um, there's a big set that I wrapped up later or earlier this year. I can't say what it is yet because they haven't even announced it, but it has something to do with my childhood, a cartoon that I really loved,
That's
and
awesome.
I'm currently working on a set for a character that is probably one of the biggest names in comic books, and I can't say who it is yet either, but it's a
For
new
sure.
license.
That's
But
awesome.
it, it's really cool to work with them and to sort of see your name tied to that. But those are the big projects that I have going on right now.
Yeah, I will 100% be bothering you when we stop recording because I I'm just so excited slash interested in all things trading cards. Like
the
Mhm.
thing is, like, even so, not obviously I like comics, big fan, love creating them, but like the thing about a card is it can get you into the thing that you don't even know that you like because it's so. I mean, it fits in your hand. It's beautiful. Like
Mhm.
I don't watch sports, but I collected sports cards when I was a kid because everybody was doing it. And again, that's sorry. I could I'm just so blown away by this development. And it's really all I'm thinking about. So
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, sorry. I
Yeah, we will absolutely talk about trading cards because
awesome.
I agree with you. They're so unique and there's so many different things that you can do with a card that I don't think a lot of people understand. And being on the original art side of things where they send me the blank card and I draw the character on it and then I mail the card back and know someone in this world is going to have that one of one.
Oh, that's
It's kind
exciting.
of crazy. So, but I've seen some pretty wild stuff on cards.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it, it blows me away that one simple meeting. So in our case, Cincinnati Comic Expo
Hmm.
can create a a continuous a connection. So again, I appreciate you being on here, but like even without being on the channel, you have been encouraging and complimentary or whatever. What I mean is you're just I appreciate your friendship
Hmm.
that came from meeting at the convention. And
Likewise.
in a callback to you complimenting your wife about helping you keep a cool head, if not for my wife, my graphic novel wouldn't even exist because before we met, she and I,
Mhm.
there's a good chance I wouldn't have finished because the relationship I was in was very not encouraging, if you
Mhm.
will. And yeah, so it's just the reason I bring this up is working together, whether in a literal sense where you have relationships and I have relationship with different people, but just relationships in general are pivotal for making things come to completion. And yeah, I just like I said, I appreciate you both being on here,
Mhm.
but also just being kind and helpful in the
Oh
real world.
yeah. I I generally treat everyone that I meet with the utmost respect because one, I people are the most precious thing on this world. They can be annoying at times, but that means I can also be annoying at times. So, there's a little slice of humble pie in that. But I love seeing people's dreams come true. I love seeing visions come to fruition. I love seeing people happy. It's just something, you know, that feeds me to like be supportive on other people because I had people that supported my dream. And it's the smallest thing to pay it forward. And, at a con in that type of setting, whether, I love working with other vendors because at the end of the day, we all have to tolerate each other at the conventions. But ultimately, when those doors close and we go our separate ways, we get to do this kind of stuff. We get to
Yes.
develop and build that tight knit community where we are all supportive of one another. There is zero competition in my book.
Yeah.
I wish other people felt that way, but
Yeah.
there are people truly, I don't see anyone as competition. I don't draw manga or anime, but I know a whole bunch of artists that do. So if someone wants a character drawn from manga or one of their favorite animes, I can't do it. But let me take you over to my buddy over here who I know does it, and they're going to do it way better than me. Gets them the
Absolutely.
sale, gets them a new fan, and you know, I'm happy knowing I just helped someone out.
Absolutely. Now I was blown away by the first convention I ever worked because it wasn't just you and I, but like so many people along the row were accepting and helpful, thoughtful, and even now stay in communication because, like you said, it's we're all in it more or less together. or attempting to be in it
Yeah.
together, because a rising tide lifts all ships, or whatever the saying is.
Absolutely. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and yeah, I would love for everybody to succeed, because we're all doing different things. It's funny, when I first started my channel, I was I was kind of scared to put it all out there, if you will. And then it struck me one day, when I was came to the realization that even if I tell you, or in the reality of things, everybody, about an upcoming project that isn't ready to be bought, it doesn't matter if somebody's. So I was always scared. Oh, what if somebody takes it and runs with it? Well, the fact is, nobody will ever write what I write. Nobody will ever draw what the artist draws. And so you can see echoes of things in everything, right? So, for instance, in the case of Prowl, there are going to be other werewolf stories that exist. There were before you, there will be after you. So it's like, nobody will ever be you, though. And that's the thing that struck me. I don't even know when. At some point, I was just like, wait a second. There's no reason for me to be scared, because there isn't another thing like my thing. So even if somebody tries to go, we're going to be me. And just like nobody's ever going to do your project like you, because there is only one you and there's only one me. And so, like, as soon as I came to that understanding within myself, I was like, oh, there's no reason to be worried anymore.
Yep.
I think that goes back to the idea of working together. And by not being scared, it makes it easier to be open to teamwork, or
Absolutely. Yeah.
promoting others.
Yeah. Promoting others, sharing other people's work. I know when I launched Prowl's Remaster, I launched it on Kickstarter, and I did the whole Kickstarter thing wrong. I
Mm-hmm.
never had. I've been a part of other people's Kickstarters where I did a cover or the interior, or I did something to help, in their project, but I never ran my own. And I decided I'm going to launch my book at Free Comic Book Day. That's when I'm going to have the physical copy available. So I did the math of the book was almost already done. So I did the math, and I was like, oh shoot, I gotta have I gotta have the campaign like started like tomorrow if I want to hit that deadline. Like it was already going to go to printer, so I never get hung up on the funding goal, because
Yeah,
the funding goal to me is really just, hey, here's what I raised for this, because no matter what, I'm going to send my book to the printer. I'm
absolutely.
not
Yeah.
looking for, yeah, I'm not looking for readers to fund this and be like, well, if you guys don't pledge, I can't get this done. No, I'm gonna do it. So you're guaranteed to get it no matter if I made $100. So I set my goal really low. I think I set it at like either I think it was $1,000 or maybe even 500. It was stupid low.
Yeah.
And I think I don't even remember if I said it for a full 30 days. I really can't remember. It was that, but I didn't do a pre-launch. I didn't do notify me or anything. I just set it up. Here's my tiers. There's the product. This is what you're going to get. And we were almost funded in 24 hours.
That's amazing.
Within just shy of 48, it was funded, and I think I almost raised $3,000 for my very first Kickstarter that didn't go the full 30 days or whatever they do. And that was without me advertising. I literally launched it live on Facebook. And as I was explaining what it was and why I did it this way, and while people were watching me live, they were pledging. And I
That's
literally watched it. It was insane. So, you know, there's something to be said about not overthinking and over planning. But as a business, you really do want to, make sure it's done right. But for me, this is my book. I'm going to launch it anyway. So get it while you can get some exclusives, or wait till it's done, like out. Either way, it was one of the most successful projects that I've ever done. And now people are very anxious, and I'm thankful that they really love the idea of having the graphic novel. I love the fact that they're interested to see the full thing, because one thing at doing shows and getting to talk to people face to face, you get to you get a little insight as to what they want. And one thing I always hear is, "Man, I have all these books. I'm so backed up. I'll just wait for the trade paperback to come out." Or, "I really like to just sit and binge read."
Yep.
Okay. Or they don't like to open the single issues because you don't want to crease them. They don't want to, they want to keep the value. Well, that's not why I created the book. I want you to read it. So,
Exactly.
it's weird. So I'm like, well, here's what I'm going to do. And everyone has been, I don't think I've had a single person go, "Oh, I don't like that idea." Oh, I can't wait. Because they know they're going to get the beginning, middle, and end of the first volume. And of course, there's going to be more because I have multiple stories tied to one. It's one long story, but there's going to be, obviously an end to this arc and into this arc, but it's all one long storyline. And yeah, it's really exciting to see people excited for it.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time, sir, and I wish you nothing but the absolute best. I think that this will be a winning formula because again, you are genuine and people can tell that. I feel like when both they meet you and hear you talk. I think that's a lot to do with success is just being upfront. I know that that's how I feel when it comes to people. If I feel like I can relate to them, if I feel like that they're a good person, I tend to want to jump into their world. And so I appreciate you joining me here to promote. And, again, thanks for just being great at, helping people along in the process.
It's absolutely 100% my pleasure. And truly, thanks for having me on. I love being able to shed some light on this weird industry that we're in.
Absolutely. So, whenever you have your next graphic novel completed, I welcome you to come back and chat
Hmm.
once again if you'd be interested. I
Absolutely.
mean,
Always.
all right. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.